Hey, how's it going, guys? I want to go over the squat today. Whether you're doing air squats, back squats, low bar, high bar, whichever type of back squat you're doing, a front squat, a goblet squat, if you're holding something on the front of your body, any sort of squat, these principles are going to apply to that squat. And this is just a simple way to get up and out of a chair even, simple ways on sitting down into a chair. So it can go as simple as sitting in a chair and as complex as front squatting a barbell. Or something like that. So what you want to do is position your feet just outside your hips. For some guys, you have to go wider because your hips are a little bit more narrow, so wider to get that depth and open up the mobility in your hips if we're not trying to work on mobility. So that's a quick overlook of mobility. Open up your feet. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is start from the top. Keep your head up. First thing is head up. Next thing we're going to do is keep our neck neutral. Keep our chest up, and all that means is keeping our shoulder blades tight. We don't want to be rounded like this. We don't want to overcompensate and be too tight like this. We just want to keep our chest slightly elevated, keeping our shoulder blades a little bit contracted. So we're right here, head up, neck neutral, chest up. Next thing, and this is often overlooked, is keeping our core tight. A lot of that stability from the lower half is going to come from the core. So for a quick side note, if you want to get your squat maxes up, or if you're trying to work on your air squat and you keep crunching over, a little tip is work on your core. Do planks, sit-ups, crunches, things like that. So next thing is keep your core tight. Now this is a really big principle, and it's harder for a lot of athletes to do this next step because they're so used to doing it a traditional way, and you might as well. The next movement is your hips tilt. So we want our pelvis to tilt back, not our knees to bend, because often this is the incorrect way. We get to this position, everything's good, and our knees bend, and then our hips go back. And what you want to do is start with your hips being tilted. So now we're anterior tilting our pelvis towards the front. Then we can open up this range of motion and shoot our hips back at an angle as our knees are going to passively bend. So focus on the hips rather than the knees. So my hips are bending here, and then I go into this squat where my knees are naturally going to bend. And the last thing is keep your knees in line with your feet. You don't want your knees moving out or in. Now, I get a question, should my knees go over my toes? Should they stay right above my toes, or don't even get them close to my toes at all? And it really depends on what you're working. If you're working more power, you're gonna find a lot more power with your knees going over your toes. But if you have any sort of knee problem, don't let your knees go over your toes. Keep those knees in line with the feet, right about over the toe is the farthest you want to go if you've ever had any meniscus or ligament issues with your knees. So those are a few tips. Remember, head up, neck neutral, chest up, keeping our shoulder blades tight, core tight, hips first, then the knees, keep them in line. So those are some tips to help you with your squats.